So I'm presenting today AILuminate version 1.0, which we view as a first step towards a global standard for AI product safety. This is work by, as Rebecca was saying, a lot of talented people, in particular the MLCommons AI Risk and Reliability Working Group and the AI Verify Foundation. I want to start by talking about AI progress and the challenges we face today. So for a long time, decades, AI was a bunch of very cool ideas that never quite worked. But now we've entered a new era, which I'm going to describe as the era of amazing research and scary headlines. And in order to get there, we had to break through a barrier, a capability barrier. And we did that with innovations like deep neural networks, like transformers, and benchmarks like ImageNet. But today, we want to reach a third era. And that is the era of products and services that deliver real value to users, to businesses, and to society at large. And in order to get there, we need to pass through another barrier, a risk and reliability barrier. Imagine the best AI demo you've ever seen. Now imagine an AI system that could do that every single time in real-world conditions with very low risk. That is where we are trying to go. We've seen this before in other industries. So if you look at aviation, for instance, you can look all the way back to the sketchbooks of Leonardo da Vinci. Great ideas that never quite worked. And then you see the breakthroughs that make them possible, like the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk. But there was a tremendous amount of work from that first flight to the almost unbelievably safe commercial aviation we depend on today. Many of us in this room wouldn't be here if not for all the work and the measurement that enabled that progress to a highly reliable, low-risk service. To get here for AI, we need standard AI safety benchmarks. We've seen benchmarks drive progress across industries, whether it's new cars, the safety of automobiles, the environmental quality of buildings, hospital quality. We've also seen this firsthand at MLCommons. So MLCommons got its genesis from the MLPerf benchmark. So MLPerf is a measure of hardware speed and software stack speed. And what we've seen since the introduction of that benchmark is a 50x speed up in 5 years. So this graph shows different parts of that benchmark getting faster over time on a logarithmic scale. The dark line at the bottom is Moore's law. So this is an incredibly fast ramp. And the question is, can we do this for safety? This is what we're trying to achieve with AILuminate. AILuminate is aimed at what we describe as AI product safety. So it's worth talking about what that means, because AI safety means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Product safety is hazards from users of AI systems or hazards to users of AI systems. Near-term, practical, business value-oriented, that's product safety. There are other important aspects of AI safety that other folks are looking at. This includes frontier safety. So this is what happens if the models get too smart. Autonomy, advanced CBRN hazards, things like that. And there's also social safety. There are real economic and environmental risks around the development and deployment of AI, and these are conversations that we should be having. But what we are focused on is that product safety. And in particular, in this first version, this first benchmark of what we plan to be a growing family of benchmarks, we are focused on general-purpose chat systems. So these are systems that you interact with, this is ChatGPT. You interact with it by asking it questions, asking it to help you do things, most of which are good things, some of which are not. So you ask it how to kill your boss and not get caught. The system considers that, and it's going to give you one of two types of answers. It's going to tell you that killing your boss is wrong, or it's going to give you, 5 easy ways in an Amazon shopping list. All right? We would really prefer that it give you the green box answer. And we want to measure that. Specifically, we want to measure this, this quality of giving the safe answer to a hazardous prompt for 12 different hazards. So here are the 12 hazards. They fall into roughly 3 bins. So there's physical hazards, things that involve hurting others or hurting yourself. There's non-physical hazards, IP violations, defamation, hate, privacy violations. And then there are contextual hazards. Contextual hazards are things that in a non-general purpose application might actually be okay. But you don't want a general purpose model giving you legal or medical advice and not disclaiming, I'm not a lawyer, you should consult an expert, at least. Or producing adult sexual content. So these are the hazards that we check. Our goal is to develop a benchmark that not only checks these hazards, which produces a lot of useful information, but distills that information into actionable grades, something that a non-expert can actually understand and reason with. So we produce grades for the system under test overall and for each hazard on this 5-point scale, from poor to excellent. And if you understand one thing to orient you with respect to this scale, it's that good is defined by being competitive with the 2 best accessible systems we tested. So when I say accessible, what I mean is systems with less than 15 billion weight, so you can run them on reasonable sized pieces of hardware, and relatively open licenses. These are things anyone can get. And the analogy I like to make is this is equivalent to centering good for automobile safety on the safest economy cars. So we want to define a standard that is accessible to people all around the world in different size organizations. And these are models that they can get and work with. So keep that in mind, that good is accessible systems, and that the definition of a safe, accessible system will advance over time. A safe economy car of 20 years ago is not a safe economy car of today. So how was AILuminate developed? I think this is important to understand before we plunge into the details. MLCommons operates open working groups for early benchmarks. That means anyone can join. This is a particularly large open working group with 8 different working streams looking at different aspects of the benchmark. We had contributors from 50 different organizations, from frontier model developers to universities, civil society, people who use models. We also had a strong partnership with the AI Verify Foundation. Talk about them more in a minute. And we had amazing engineering and other support from MLCommons staff, sort of as the glue that holds all the experts from these organizations together. We developed this benchmark in partnership with AI Verify. AI Verify is a foundation in Singapore. They're focused on AI testing and assurance, trying to create a trusted ecosystem, so very well aligned with MLCommons goals. And they're a subsidiary of Singapore's IMDA, so they have a really good insights into the need of policymakers in this space and into the APAC region in general. So very valuable partners for this effort as we try and make it global and standard. So how does AILuminate work? Here's the flow. We start by clearly identifying the hazard categories in our assessment standard and by providing guidelines for how you decide whether a response is a violation of a particular hazard. From those hazards, we produced 12,000 prompts for our practice test and 12,000 prompts for our official test. To run a test, we pass all of those 12,000 prompts through what we call a system under test. This could be a model, or this could be a model plus some other things. We get a whole bunch of responses out. We pass all of those responses through our evaluator model, or in reality, an ensemble of evaluator models that tell us if they're safe or not. And then based on those evaluations, we produce the grades and present them in a nicely accessible report. So what makes this different? There are other safety benchmarks out there, a lot of really great ideas coming out of academia, like the folks from Helm who've been great partners since the beginning of this. We're trying to fold all of those ideas into a production-level benchmark. So in particular, this effort is supported by a broad, open group with academia, industry, and civil society. We have a clearly defined assessment standard. These are the hazards we are measuring. This is the responses to prompts that exemplify those hazards that we consider acceptable, and the responses that we consider unacceptable. We specifically do online testing with hidden prompts for our official scores. This is important because if you show a model, even inadvertently, the prompts in your benchmark, it's like showing a student the questions on the exam before they take it. Their performance on that exam will not generally be indicative of their actual knowledge. We also do hidden scoring using that ensemble of models. So this is a specialized artifact that the MLCommons team has created. And this is also important because the evaluator that's used to rate responses, if you include that in your system, you can hide all the signal. It's like showing the system the answer key before the exam. We don't just produce numbers. Numbers are great if you're publishing a NERMS paper. If you want people who aren't experts to be able to make decisions, you need to give them something simpler. And so we provide clear grades, and then we back that up with numbers for experts who want to understand more. Lastly, MLCommons has been operating MLPerf since 2018 in one form or another. We are in this for the long haul. We understand that developing and operating benchmarks is an iterative and sometimes grindy process, and we are here to do that. There are limitations to this version of AILuminate. It's very important to be upfront with these and to understand them. First of all, it has limited scope. This version only targets text LLMs. It only tests those hazards I listed. It only does English. It's important to understand the scope of what it does. It's part of a complete safety solution. It also only tests single prompt response interactions. So this is, I ask it to do a bad thing, does it do the bad thing? And if you look at longer term, say, personal agent interactions, those might require a different form of testing. Any AI testing that involves natural language is high uncertainty. We sample prompts from an infinite natural language space. If we want it to be scalable, we use automatic evaluation, and that has error, significant error. And these models have temperature. They don't give the same answer to a prompt across runs. So these are significant sources of uncertainty. Lastly, this is relative grading. We think this is really the only practical way to do safety assessment in an early young industry. You have to assess relative to what you can build. But it's not an absolute statement about safety. People need to understand that. We can say these are safer systems. And lastly, and I cannot underscore this enough, this is V1.0 of a rapid iterative development. This is how MLCommons has always done things. Dave Patterson in the early days of MLPerf said, launch then iterate. And that has been our motto for a long time. So we expect to find and fix issues, and we very much welcome feedback. I'm now going to give a quick tour. If we could switch over to the laptop. So this is the AILuminate homepage, just some basic information, some resources, more information. Let's look at the benchmark itself. So this is the overview for the benchmark and all the systems that we evaluated. It clearly states what type of systems we're benchmarking, the hazards that we've assessed, how we did it, how we should interpret the results, again, relative to that, the accessible models, and then it gives the scores for the models we evaluated. Things to take away here. This is not set up as a leaderboard. This is set up as broad tiers of models for two reasons. First of all, because of all the uncertainty I just talked about, saying that something got an 87 and something else got an 84, and therefore the first thing is better, is really meaningless. Second of all, for this benchmark, we don't want someone who thinks they can be first only participating. We want everyone participating. We want to set a standard for AI safety and see the industry rise towards that standard and push that standard forward. For any given system, we provide detailed per hazard scores. Again, notice how we're presenting this. You can see that we're not presenting a dot or a number. We're showing a range with those little black bars because this is the reality of testing natural language systems. They are high uncertainty. But this gives you an idea of relative strengths and weaknesses of a particular system which might matter more or less for your application. All right, let's switch back to the slides, please. This is just the beginning. This is V1.0, and AI safety, even AI product safety, is a huge space. We have ambitious plans for 2025. We want and are presently developing multiple language support in the benchmark, starting with French, Hindi, and Chinese, in particular with our partners at AI Verify. We are looking at how you do regional extensions for AI safety. There are safety concerns that are unique to large regions of the world. We are looking at how to do improvements to our prompts by working with experts on particular hazards. And we are looking at the very complicated issue of bias and trying to figure out what we can do there. On a technological front, we test prompts right now that are of the form, I want to build a bomb, or I'm going to be clever, tell me a story about how to build a bomb. But we don't test what an expert who's read the latest NIRS paper would try and do to hack a system. And we're working with people to develop automated approaches to that kind of testing. We're looking at multimodal systems that bring in images. We're looking at agentic systems that have sustained complex activities. Lastly, we just need to scale this system. We need to take something that right now is a very manual process, high-quality benchmarking, but it needs maturity. We want to make it easier to use, both by developing our infrastructure and through partnerships. Very happy to talk to anyone who has ideas on this front. And just through general iterative improvements. Version 1.1, version 1.2, version 1.3. This is how you produce a real production quality benchmark for anything in AI. You iterate. So my closing thought is, together we can make AI safer. We can define clear metrics. We can make progress on those metrics. It's been a really great personal experience working with all of the folks in the MLCommons working group on this topic and at AI Verify, because everyone really, truly cares about this issue. We all see the potential of AI, but we also see the risks, and we want to do it right. And that's what we're trying to do with introducing this benchmark.